Hi, Matthew. Hi. Thanks for making time for us, man. I really appreciate it.
Oh, no problem at all.
You guys excited about the album coming out soon?
Yeah, we've been waiting forever, so
Yeah, right.
um,
Crazy.
got I think 9 days left. So super excited. Can't wait for people to finally hear it. We've been living with it for so long.
Yeah. No, that's really cool. I'm excited too. And I had the chance, well, like, I guess the benefit to be able to hear it a little early. And it's really cool and really different. And I think you know how most of these things go. Basically, there's a few questions that I have to ask. And then
Uh huh.
if there's time, and of course there's no pressure, but because I also come from Mississippi and have family in Nashville, there's a few questions, if there's time, that I would love to ask at the end. But if we don't make it, that's cool. But I just
Okay,
realized that
cool.
earlier and I was like, oh shit, that'd be so cool. Like, anyway,
Yeah,
so,
that's crazy. What a coincidence. It's
yeah, it's
crazy.
really nice. But anyway, so I'll just jump right into a few of the bigger questions and then, yeah, we can see how it
Okay.
is at the end. So, something I thought about that I found really interesting was, doing some research on Kings of Leon throughout the years and everything. Was that pretty early on? I mean, you guys coming from like Mississippi and Oklahoma City and Nashville, of course, pretty early on, you guys had this intense acclaim abroad, like especially in the UK and Ireland, Australia, New Zealand. And I wondered because like I said, I'm also from Mississippi. I'm also a musician, but I live abroad. I live in Munich. So
Right.
I was
Wow.
I was wondering, like, at first when you guys started out and that was really happening abroad, did that feel strange or was it sort of out of your grasp or maybe even like less rewarding? Because living here for me, it took a while to kind of adjust to a foreign audience.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it was super different at first. I mean, I'd barely been to, 2 or 3 states. And, we had just been like at home and in the South and kind of, or whatever, in Oklahoma and the Midwest. Yeah. And then we, maybe we kind of tried to lose the accents for a while because we were like, oh, we don't want to seem like, like rednecks or whatever.
Right.
And then it was just really weird how our management was like, so they were like, so guys, sometimes this happens. They're like, but you guys are getting a lot of attention in the UK. And we were just like, oh, like, okay, wow. Like, we didn't really think much of it. And I didn't really know much about the UK
Right.
or Europe or anything. But I was just like, I was 17 or 18. I was like, this sounds great. Like, let's do it.
That's crazy.
Um, I was like, I hope they have ketchup, so I still,
That's crazy.
and so, yeah, the next thing I know, we're extremely hungover on an 8-hour flight, um, headed to the UK. And then it was just like absolutely crazy. People were like there for us, like from the beginning. It was like they were so much more passionate about music in general at all, like, just
Hmm.
anyone's music, like just music in general. And then we got there and then they were just like loving everything we were doing. And it was just like that. I think that really put like a fire of like, oh man, like this is so fun. Like we should like really like try and do like make this happen, for ourselves.
Yeah.
Cause that was like the EP, that was like very beginning. Um,
Yeah.
so then, yeah, it was weird to come home and then there's like nothing happening at all. Like there's like no one's really talking about you. There's like, because we have like, because we had a good management team or whatever, they'd be like, and we were signed to a good label. We would have like, little pieces in magazines here and there, but I don't know. It was definitely weird to be so well received in Europe or some parts of Europe and in the UK, and then really hardly nothing in America.
That must have felt so wild, especially being that young, you know?
Yeah, it was. Um, it was crazy. It's like all happened really fast, and we just kind of it was a lot of just like doing what people kind of just told us to do. Then it's like, oh, they think we should play here, and we would do it, and I don't know. We were more into the, I guess, the music side, writing and things like that. Then that's all we could really be involved with.
When you saw numbers rising in countries that you hadn't traveled to or toured in yet, like in Australia or New Zealand, for example, did you get told from your label or from your distributor, like how many units are being sold or how many people are, looking at the videos there, and wonder to yourself, like, how did they find us?
I don't even know if we got information like that back then. It was more of like,
Oh, really?
like a conversation of, I mean, if we did, I just wasn't even like paying attention really, because I don't even know if we got like a lot of radio play and stuff. It was more like we seemed more of an indie band
Right.
back then, but I don't know, I guess we got more of the album sales recognition, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's kind of, I guess, what we would go off of. And then they'd be like, and then somehow we landed like just really crazy opening spots back then. Like we, had the Strokes at the beginning, which I feel like really like that was like key. I don't even know how it happened. It was crazy. I feel like that really put us on a lot of people's radar.
Dude, those opening support slots is like a once in a lifetime opportunity, and you guys had them like back to back. That's so crazy. And to be so young, and you just, like you said, you had like an EP or a first album out, and you're like, okay, this is bizarro Beatlemania, where I go to the UK and they're loving us there, and then we're gonna play with Bob Dylan and U2 and the Strokes. That's must have been so overwhelming.
It was insane. And I mean, it's some of the best memories that I have, like of the band. It's just, it just going, I don't know, just happening so fast. Like,
yeah.
And then the huge, it's like, are you kidding me? We're opening like U2 wants us to open. Like, that's crazy. They have like huge openers. Like, why will they choose us? And I guess that, there's like a guy in the band who like, likes our music or whatever. And then there it goes. And then, and then you're on tour with them. That was amazing. And, I think it was really, thank you to all of those people, because that was like a huge key to, our success for those opening slots.
For sure. I mean, that's such a great opportunity. And yeah, that's just a really cool thing. It's funny to do this kind of format with this interview, because I'm used to doing like podcasting where I would just branch further into that first question, but I do have to move to the next.
I understand. That's cool.
Okay. Yeah, you're more used to the game than I am, but I have to ask the next one. I had this thought. So it's been like 4.5 years since Walls came out. And, this album was, the tour was delayed, of course, and the release was delayed. And, now that it's releasing essentially mid-pandemic, I was wondering, do you guys as a band, or do you, Matthew, feel this way? Do you feel like a different sense of pressure or responsibility to your fans to deliver something to maybe help make them feel something good if they're in a tough situation in these trying times? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I know a lot of people are struggling, to have to stay home, mentally, whatever, especially all the extroverts out there, whatever, it's like, it's tough to have to just, stop doing and stop seeing people. So, I mean, it'd be amazing if we can help or inspire anyone with the new album, in any way. But when we were gonna release it, honestly, we were like gearing up last March, like a year ago. And then it was like, all of a sudden it was just like everyone stay at home. And we were like, do we just continue release? And then we were like, no, we can't. Like, we don't know what's going on. We were all super anxious, like the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Just like, I didn't leave the house for months. It's just like really weird time. So we just made the decision to, we'll hold for a minute, and then we'll like regroup in the summer or whatever. And then, the summer came and it was unbelievable. We were like, I can't believe we're going to push this again. And then it just
Yeah.
got to a point where we're not waiting anymore. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, we're to the point now where we're like, oh, like, let's make new music, you know? So it's just like, let's just put it out there. So, because we've always supported all of our music and albums with live performances, and so it was just really weird to have to think, okay, we can't really do that anymore. So what do we do? But yeah, we were just like, it doesn't matter anymore. We're just going to release it. So, and it seems like I read, like, you know, Instagram comments every now and then. People are like, oh, I really like needed this and stuff. And that makes me feel so good. Like the
Oh
fact that
man.
it could be like, you know, helping someone out or something. It makes
Yeah.
me smile. So yeah, hopefully people really love it. It will help them hold out a little bit longer so we can get through this.
Man, that's a beautiful sentiment, and I think it will. I mean, you guys have some seriously diehard fans that I think having a new album from their favorite, act will bring some sort of levity to their situation, no matter what it might be. And that's a pretty amazing thing about music in general, just being able to provide that in a tough time. That's really cool.
Absolutely. We've all used music in times in our lives, and it usually defines a time in your life. You know, I can listen to an album and it will take me back to that moment, like exact moment in my life, and it makes me feel like so crazy, and it's really powerful. So hopefully someone, can use this music to get through. It'll be
Yeah.
great.
So I was thinking also, because you did Walls with Marcus Dravs, and that was such a dynamic switch in the overall sound production from the previous records, since you switched over from Angelo. And I was wondering, does this record also have a huge impact? Does Marcus have as big of an impact on this record as he did on Walls? Because I know, like, I watched some previous interviews, and I know that he worked you guys really hard on that one, and I wondered, how much influence did he have on the songwriting and the general vibe for this album?
Right. Well, the reason that I like Us Together is because I think that he, like us, really loves albums and wants to make a full album.
Yeah.
And it's important to have the ups and downs, and you try not to have any songs sound alike and things like that. So we would really push, and he helped us really push forward in that aspect. And so, like, sometimes it'd be like a rework of a song, and those, like, the one that sounded like a little too similar to another song or something. And in those moments, it felt like a little overwhelming because we're not used to that kind of like work, where we usually we record a song, we decide how it sounds, and then we just live with it. But I mean, I thought it was great about him that he, pushes for those kind of changes. So there was a couple songs we had to like rework. But we kind of discuss along the way the sound and like what direction he kind of, because we have those conversations of like inspiration, like what's inspiring us now. And we talk about music, and like we knew we wanted this one to be different from Walls. And honestly, I feel like we were more opinionated on this album than we were on Walls, where we were just kind of like, oh, like, we know that you're a huge producer, and we've heard your work, and like we trust you. So we're just going to go in with these songs that we've written, and like it was more like you kind of just decide like what they should sound like. We really didn't have a whole lot of input. Where I feel like on this album we were like, we wanted things to like sound a little bit drier, like the drum sounds to be dry and like not super roomy. And we knew we like the vocal sounds. We knew we didn't want them to be like super, the vocal like level to be like super upfront, like a pop vocal. We wanted it to be more like, I don't know, almost like an indie vocal, where it's like not the loudest thing in the thing that's featured.
Mm-hmm.
So like, yeah, I don't know. So we kind of all on the same page. And he helps out a lot. He helps with the arrangements, in the room, when the song should go where. So
Yeah.
yeah, he's great. We love working with him.
He's a super talented guy, man. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. He's great.
And you say, like, in general, that this album was a bit more democratic in terms of everyone being on the same page with all the changes in arrangements, instrumentation, as opposed to Walls in that way, right?
Yeah, I just felt like, I mean, I could be misremembering. That's always a possibility, but I feel like we were just, I feel like we were just more involved. From the get go, from like pre-production, we kind of knew that we wanted it to sound different, and like, I had like collected a bunch of vintage synthesizers, and like right at the beginning, they were like really, like they were a really big part of the songs. And then
Yeah.
I like realized that I couldn't just play synth. Like I needed to play guitar.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, I just felt like from there we knew the way we wanted to sound, and then he was all for it. He totally agreed. We were all on the same page. It was easy and fun.
That's the best feeling. That's really the best feeling when everyone's just getting along and the ideas flow and the producer and the artist together just have this like symbiotic understanding of the
No, it
songs.
was great.
It's the best feeling.
I mean, don't
Um,
get me wrong. We had our moments, but
mhm,
they were always very few, far between. Kind of
for
moments.
sure. I know that we're getting close to your time, so I'm just going to ask one more of the big questions.
Okay.
So the thing is, like, for me as a songwriter, something I really pay attention to and I try to dive into a lot is the lyrics. So of course I really dove into the album and the lyrics of the whole album. And I had a few questions that I wrote down, but I'll just trim it down to this one because I think it's really interesting to figure out if there is this meaning behind it. But basically, in the song towards the end, Claire and Eddie, there's this line,
Hmm.
"Fire's gonna rage if people don't change. A story so old, still so original." And I was thinking, man, you guys wrote this album, and we're ready to release this album in a pretty complicated time in America. Like, I was wondering if this is a commentary at all in any way on like social, political, or racial state of America, because it's going through quite a lot right now. And I wondered if that was connected
Right.
to that.
Yeah, we're kind of in a tough spot. I don't really know. I can't really speak for Caleb,
Okay.
Um, and we've never really had like a deep discussion about what he necessarily meant. We
Right.
kind of more, he probably is applying that to more like, he could be applying that more to the environment,
Yeah, that makes sense
as
too. Yeah.
well. But that's kind of how I took it, was like, if I was going to raise people don't change, just like about the planet and taking care of the planet. But I mean, like when he said that, I was like, oh, that's kind of like seems like political, which we never really go. We try not to go there, and even if we do, it's like for one like little split second. We don't ever have like a full song about stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I don't really want to. I can't really speak for him, but yeah, it definitely seems that way. And I think what was weird about this album was how we were gonna release it before, or it was we made the music pre-pandemic, and it was kind of like crazy to look back and see all the weird things that like lined up with what's going on. So that's kind of
Yeah.
something fans can do, go back and see and listen to all the lyrics,
Absolutely. And I mean,
see what
I
match
listened
up.
to yeah, I listened to this other interview that someone on this team also did with Caleb, and I think it's kind of that thing with the lyrics of this album, even including the title of the album, that in a way everything is kind of maybe even personal, but meant to be interpreted for what the people are going through and how they, it's kind of open for them to take it and change it into what they need it to mean for them now. I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah, totally. I mean, like the title of the album is definitely, it's ultimately just, it's just the title. And I do always love when artists do that, when they kind of leave it up to the fan or the listener to apply their meaning like to their life.
Right.
Um, I've just always really enjoyed that, because even when you just hear it, even when you hear the title, you immediately apply it to something for yourself. Um, but there was like a few times in the album where like that "when you see yourself" theme kept coming up, and then he said, and someone said, well, it should just be called "When You See Yourself." And I was like, oh, it's like perfect. I thought it was perfect, because I don't
Yeah.
know that I probably won't get this right, but like he says, "When you see yourself, are you far away?" in the first song, and then in a wave, he says, "I see myself and rise," and then in Claire and Eddie, he says, when you see yourself or when you feel yourself for the very first time. And so I was like, this is crazy. Like, we should definitely, you know, keep up this theme of, you know, looking at yourself introspectively. So yeah, and then it stuck. And then, and yeah, I think it's great that people can apply it to their own lives, though. You know, that's just my take on it. So, you know, take it and apply it to yourself.
Absolutely, man. So I've just been told that we're just out of time. So I'll just ask one of the personal questions I just wanted to ask you here at the end between two Mississippi boys, which was that one, where in Mississippi did you spend most of your time? And two, have you ever had or do you enjoy a good old fashioned Northeast Mississippi slug burger?
I grew up in I grew up in Brandon, or I spent most time in Brandon. I don't know, it's outside of Jackson, Mississippi.
Yeah. Okay.
And kind of like, yeah, it's just like a suburb of Jackson, and that was kind of not very uneventful.
I think that's,
and I don't
same
even know. And I feel like I don't even, did I understand? Did you say a slug burger?
A slug burger. Yeah. Do you know what that is? Have you ever had one?
No. See, I don't know what that is. And I feel so like I should, but I don't.
No, I wasn't sure how regional it was from different parts of Mississippi, but so I'm from the northeast part called Corinth, which is like an hour and a half southwest from Memphis. And they had this particular burger there that was like a fried dough burger, and you'd have it with just mustard, plain. And it's so fatty and delicious.
Right. We love bread. Anything, any kind of starch or carb, the Mississippians are there for sure.
Absolutely, man. Okay, I think that's the time after you. I mean, there was so many things I would love to talk to you about, but I know that we have to cut it here. But I wanted to say, just from like Mississippi person to you, or from musician to you, just thank you so much for being so open and making the time. And I really appreciate it. And I wish you all the best for the album release.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it was a super fun interview. Thanks so much.
I'm really glad to hear it, man. Thank you so much, and have a great rest of your day.
All right, you too. Thanks, man. See you later.
All right, buddy. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.